Now, the security industry has announced that the sector will go on a national strike on the 26th of September. This follows unsuccessful wage talks with the employer at the bargaining council. The 28 unions briefed the media on their call for a 16% wage increase, while security companies and other employers are only offering 3.5%. SABC Economics reporter Katlego Legodi joins me live in studio, and he was at the briefing a little bit earlier on. A very good afternoon to you, Katlego. Just talk to me about who is possibly going to go on strike and the context in the lead up to this decision to go on strike.
A very good afternoon to you, Nzinga, and to our viewers at home. Well, these are 28 unions, those that are operating in the public and the private sector, that today called a press briefing to say that it's been 6 months of intense negotiations in the sector with the employer, and that negotiations have not bared any sort of tangible results on the ground. This is about socio-economic challenges that exist on the ground where workers are concerned. We are, of course, in a negotiating season where labor unions are concerned, and this time around we are seeing both SABC unions in the private security sector and COSATU unions in the private security sector are just coming together to say that they are forming some sort of unity in terms of approaching the employer with their bid of a 16% wage increment, and they're saying that this has been forthcoming as negotiations dragged back from as early as March this year, where they've been negotiating in good faith with the employer, trying by all means to just meet each other halfway, where that process of wage negotiation is concerned. But then the employer has not been budging in terms of their demands. We today saw them just standing in unity at that press conference, saying that they've more or less decided that on the 26th of September they're going to be downing tools in the sector. They're saying that this is set to be an impactful move that will affect both the private and the public sector. So you can only imagine, Nzinga, that these are officials that are not only guarding private properties, but some of them are also guarding public infrastructure. And they've over the years worked to really just complement the work that the police have been doing on the ground, where there are shortcomings. And they're certain, most definitely certain, that if they go on strike on the 26th of September, this is going to be have so much of an impact to the day-to-day, living and just issues of security and criminality in the country. But I'm just gonna just throw forward now to the chairperson or the organizer, the leader, the chief negotiator of this 28 unions. They have 3 chief negotiators from various unions, and this is one of them who just let us in on their concerns as unions on the ground, and just basically how they're feeling that this move now to down tools as a last resort would more or less create or make some sort of an impact for the employer to really come back to the negotiation table and negotiate with them in good faith.
It's a sad issue or a sad story that even after we declared the dispute within the bargaining council, the employers have seemed not to be interested in moving their position to try and meet the union's demands. If we get to that stage, it's going to be it is going to have a large impact. One, you would consider that there's no building or school or any infrastructure that is not looked by the private security sector. And also you would understand that they are the biggest security sector that is available, double the number of the police, triple the number of the soldiers. This strike, if it goes on the 26th, as planned by the organized labor of the 28 unions, is going to have a huge impact, and the consequences which businesses, the private institution, the government institution will feel is going to be unquantified, because this is not done by only the greediness of the unions, but we believe that it's the greediness of the employers failing to adhere on a simple issue of the proposals, that the demands that the workers have put forward by their unions, which is far less than the 15% that we're demanding, with understanding that the inflation as we speak in July is sitting at 7.8%, and the employers are simply giving a lousy 3.5%.
Katlego, talk to me about what the security industry who wants to strike is saying about how much of a difference that increase that they're looking for will make, and is there anything that can stop this possible strike?
Well, in Nzinga, the take-home, we are told the basic take-home of a security official is at around 3,800 Rand. And they were just saying that doing their calculations on the ground, they've actually more or less managed to determine that an average security official, if things are carried out in a way that they should be carried out, should be taking home around 20,000 Rand. And they're saying that the private companies have really, or the companies really and the bosses have been cashing in on the labor that is done by security officials on the ground in manning, these institutions, in making sure that they provide safety and security. And they were just basically saying that what they're calling for, the 16% would be 900 Rand. It will culminate to 900 Rand, saying that all that they're asking for from the employer is about 900 Rand in increment for the workers that have for 3 years not received any salary increment. And one of the issues that they raised as well in Nzinga today was the issue of the inflation that is at around 7.5%, saying that the 3.5% that the employer is offering in this regard will not in any way move to cushion some of these employers that are really struggling to make ends meet. They today also broke down the challenges of transport, saying that most of them, the money that they earn, the 3.8, really just goes to transport alone, and that most of them are struggling on the day-to-day. Most of them are heavily indebted, so they're looking for some sort of cushion from the employer, and the employer has failed for about 6 months now, looking at dating to 3 years that they haven't received any sort of salary increment, saying that this 16% that they're calling for, or 900 Rand in increment, would go a long way to at least help those that are struggling. Issues of bread and butter brought to the fore today, and them saying that this move by the employer to just more or less not in any way negotiate in good faith will not in any way help them. So they're hoping that what would avert the strike would be the employer coming back to the negotiating table. They're saying that the channels are still open. They're going to be meeting again with the employer to give a picket notice to say that they're going to be picketing ahead of the 26th of September, where they'll be officially down in tools, hoping that all of these demonstrations on the ground, all of these efforts underway would actually just prove to the employer that they're really serious about the work that they do, and they're serious about what they're calling for, this being a 16% salary increment.
Katlego Legodi, SABC News Economics reporter, thanks so much for that update on that looming security industry strike.